And here we go. So once again, welcome to this special presentation from Final Fantasy Randomizer. I'm your host, Darkman EX, here, joined in the booth by player and co-commentator Saracen. Hello. And we are going to be doing an introductory run for new players. This is what we're calling vanilla-ish. You've shuffled a couple things, and we'll get to that when we get to things. But it's more or less the vanilla experience-ish. So we're going to go over the characters first, and the reason we're doing this is not only to get an explanation for why you're going to play these characters during the seed, but also to show off one feature that we have turned on that is basically baked into the randomizer at this point and is important to know just from the start, and that is our blurst classes, which puts a bonus on the characters at the very start of the game. So, Saracen, if you'd like to start over and take it away.
Yeah, so with the blurses, you can set the number of bonuses and malices between 0 and 3. So right now I have it set to 1 bonus and 0 malices. Didn't feel like belaboring this for an introductory video, but the fighter can equip shirts right out the gate, which is not a big deal. We're not going to find shirts until late game anyway, because those are in Sky. Our thief has plus 10 strength, which is meh. It's not bad, but it's nothing to write home about. Our black belt has some luck, and that is super helpful, but I don't feel like playing a black belt today, so we're not gonna. Red Mage can equip legendary swords right out the gate, and we don't really care because all those legendary swords come late after we could promote anyway. Our White Mage can hurt dragons, I guess that's a thing. And our Black Mage starts with Warp at level 8 in the first slot, so this is super powerful. This is actually the only blurst that matters in this setup.
Yep.
Now, there are improvements to the base classes. The Thief is actually good now, so we're taking a Thief. We have a buff to agility. It can run better than anybody else. We're big on Thieves here. And then I just want to have my magic bases covered, because I did shuffle the magic, but I can't shuffle the shops because that could move the vendor item. And that would be a real problem.
Yeah, and we're trying to do vanilla progression here, so the important thing is making sure that, when you're playing the game normally, that you understand what it is that you're going to be going through and what things are supposed to relate to what. So shop item anywhere other than Canoe would screw that up for us.
Even other than Desert Vendor.
Sorry, thank you, yes. You can see I've played the randomizer too much.
So with that, I'm just going to jump right in with a little 3, 2, 1, go.
Perfect, and I'll get the timer going only a few seconds behind that, and here we are. So, we're going into the shops, and one of the first changes you're going to see is that the spells are shuffled from where they would be normally. Saracen, you just go on and play at your normal speed. So he picked up Heal 2 and Exit. Heal 2 being a nice area of effect healing spell, and then Exit is great for navigating the dungeons. He went to Black Magic, and the only thing he saw that he cared about was Fire 3. Fire 3 being the third level, the best version of Fire in the game. Fire 1 is single target. Fire 2 and Fire 3 are area of effect. And Fire 3 is more damage than Fire 2. So when both of those were in the Black Magic shop, he took Fire 3 because of course you would. Why have Fire 2 when you can just have Fire 3 at the same level? He's buying a couple of basic weapons. That's to help with fighting Garland, if nothing else. And then he also picked up some rapiers here. These are decent at +1. Not the best, but decent. Cloth +3 for everyone that can't wear the chainmail, and then he got chainmail for the fighter. Cloth +3, so the plus on that is, that's our Blurst armor and Blurst weapons. Blurst being Blessing and Curse. And you'll see that Saracen is not going to fight very much because there's no need with, we have boosted experience on as well. So when he fights something, it'll actually mean something. But we have Blurst armor on, and I don't know all the specific stats. There's pros that are going to be able to tell you better, but the important part I do know is that for every point of blursing, a bonus or a negative, you get that against the armor in various ways and weapon in various ways. So it's 1 point against base armor for anything that isn't body armor equals 1 point of absorb, which lowers your damage, and removes a point of evade. So I'll continue the explanation in a second, but we have Saracen, who went up to the Temple of Fiends while I was just doing basic explanations, killed Garland, who is the guy that the king, if you go through all the dialogue of the game in the proper order, which of course we don't because we know this game too well, you talk to the king is like, oh my god, my daughter has been kidnapped, go to the place up here, up north on the continent, and defeat the guy that kidnapped her, and she's like, cool, the party is like, cool, you go and you talk to the king gives you the bridge so that you can leave this area of the world, and then after you've saved her, the princess will give you the loot, and that loot is passed down for 2,000 years and otherwise means absolutely nothing to you right now. We'll get back to that later. Literally what the game is like, here, we'll put a pin in this. It doesn't matter. And now with the bridge for saving the princess, we can now leave the opening area of the world and move on. That about cover it, Saracen?
Sure did.
And you can see the only fight that Saracen has cared about has been Garland. He didn't check any chests at Temple of Fiends because with vanilla progression, chests aren't worth all that much. He hasn't done much else here besides kill Garland, get bridge, get loot, and move on, because nothing else here in the vanilla game with vanilla progression really matters that much to a party that's going to be quickly moving up the ranks. So you're picking up... Here, I need to mute this music for a second because it's too much talking there. Let's turn that down. So you picked up Harm 2, and you're picking up Quake and Fast. And that's all you're picking up right now, right?
I'm very out of money.
Well, that's not fighting anything and not taking anything will do that. But so you picked up Harm 2, and if you've played the vanilla game at all before, you might be like, why would you pick up Harm 2? And that's because while in the vanilla game, Harm only works against the undead. With White Mage fixes on, Harm now works against everything. It can't crit against anything except the undead, but it works against everything, so the White Mage becomes effective. You come to this town, everyone's afraid of some pirates, you go fight the pirates and you steal their ship. We are heroes, people, we steal ships.
It's very important.
Very
that
important.
We steal ships.
That you steal ships. And now Saracen's going to buy some of the gear that he needs to progress around the world. You buying anything here?
Ooh.
Glove plus 5.
Glove plus 5 it's just good enough.
Yeah. So, getting back to it, so you get a point of absorb for every bonus point on armor. Unless it's body armor, then you get 2 points for absorb. And that's really nice. Lowers the evade by every bonus point. And it does something else, doesn't it?
No, it's
just
armor
those two?
is just evade and absorb.
Okay, so it's the weapon I'm thinking that has 3 sets. Perfect, thank you. That's why you're here with me, to help cover the knowledge I don't have. So, Crocinator is asking if they're dabbing while they when they use the equipment. I think they celebrate with a little bit of kind of dabbing, kind of.
So I'm using the dab sprites, so they will dab every time that they can use equipment that's in a shop, or if they are casting a spell, or if we've won a fight.
And that is as far as shops are concerned, that is an improvement for our game versus vanilla. It indicates to you when they actually throw their arms in the air, whether with the dab sprites here they're dabbing, or just in general throwing a victory pose, that they can use whatever is in that shop at the time. That's basically bringing feature parity back from the later games. Oh, so the ogres have stone touch.
That's unpleasant.
That's one of the things we shuffled was the touch effects. I have a feeling you weren't pleased to see that.
I was not. Well, I don't know that that's the thing I can fix anytime soon.
No,
because I'll have to go. I'll probably have to go to Canoe to get softs. There's not a lot of shops that carry softs.
Well, that is okay. So let's cover. Quad X is a great spell. Fade is great. Wall is great. Quad X will kill any enemy at 300 health or less. Fade is top tier white magic that by default works against everything. It's like mini nuke. And then Wall allows you to protect your party in battle from magic. It's like it prevents 3 and 256 chance to crit through it, but it prevents instant death spells, and then it lowers the effectiveness of any AoE effects. But you have to cast it per person at a single target. You didn't shuffle
the softs here.
Good. I was gonna say, you didn't shuffle the shops, so you weren't gonna find them at Canaria.
Oh, you're right.
Excuse me. Okay. So while he's now wandering, we can go back to our Blurcy explanation. If you go through this game, and you're going vanilla progression, you would go to this town that we were just at, that is Elfland. You would go to the castle next to Elfland. The elf people would be like, oh, our prince is asleep, can you save him? And then you'd go on this long, convoluted quest to go talk to this wise woman who has an item that she can use to wake the sleeping king, or sleeping prince, but she won't give it to you. And
I just accidentally reset instead of tilting.
Oh, yeah, no, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. You give me more time to explain. So she says, I can do this, but I can't see. If you can get me my eye back, which is a crystal, I can see, and then I can give you the thing. But to get the crystal back, you have to go to a broken down fortress where the dark elf is supposedly at, that who's stolen the crystal. But there isn't a dark elf there. There's a king there, and the king is like, well, my crown has been stolen. Can you get me the crown? And then he's like, it's down here in this cave down south, and that's where Saracen is headed, is to this cave. Meanwhile, with Blurst weapons, you get 3 bonuses for every point. And that is a bonus to your crit, 1 point of crit, 1 point of damage, and 1 point of hit percent, is that right?
I think it's 2 damage, 2 hit, 3 crit?
Okay. Well,
something like that.
Damage hit
we can
crit.
have. I'm sure we have plenty of people in chat who are happy to correct me.
Happy to correct it. But yeah, you get damage, hit, and crit, and that's the important point, is to emphasize that those 3 things get boosted or, on a negative, penalized. So that is what, and then you can see right there, Saracen had to fight his way past some wizards, and then he grabbed the crown, and then because we have the exit spell, which in the vanilla game you wouldn't get until much later, when it's basically almost useless anymore, he used exit to get out of the dungeon quick and get that crown out without having to fight anything. That's how we're shaving some time in this versus vanilla. We have a lot of good stuff. And we had comments in chat that Marsh Cave scares the crap out of them as a kid. Yes, Marsh Cave is scary. There's no way around that. That's the first real dungeon where you had like touch effects and other nasty things. It was gross. So Saracen has come here with the crown, and the king has revealed himself to be, oh my god, the Dark Elf all along. And then he immediately annihilated him with Quad X because it's less than 300 health and just died. So with the crown turned in, you now get the crystal, and you can go talk to the wise woman that we actually haven't talked to before now, but we will now go talk to her.
I'm not even going to tempt fate with that stone touch.
Right?
It was...
No, you avoid. Run. Oh, and that is something that if you're in vanilla, you might not realize. The thief can run. In vanilla game, the thief couldn't because the running stat was bugged. So here, the thief can run because we fixed that. And do you have like any thief boosting going on right now for the run?
I believe I put on Agi and the double hit growth because those are kind of standard-ish.
They are standard-ish. Agi at 50 or Agi at 80?
80.
Okay. So the thief is very lucky and is very able to run in this flag set. He's going to avoid a lot of damage, and he's going to be able to run very quick. So he's great. With that, Saracen now loots her armory, stealing whatever she had tucked under her bed. And he's turned in the crystal to her so she can see now, and she gives you the herb, which in later games is like the Jolt herb or the Jolt Cola or something. It's fine.
Jolt Tonic, I think.
Yeah. With the Agi on, the thief in front, excuse me, thief luck would affect his chance of being surprise attacked. Thief just has better luck than everyone else. I think that's what it is. Isn't it luck for surprise attack?
It's Agi for surprise attack.
Okay,
it's luck for run.
There you go. Luck for runs, Agi for surprise. Thank you. So many stats in this game to keep track of. But what? So yes, with the Agi bonus there, that he's going to avoid the surprise attacks that were pointed out by Crocinator. And thank you for chatting in chat, Crocinator. It's appreciated. Your questions, your points. You remind me of things to mention, so that's very good. So with the herb in hand, we now travel down to Elfland.
We do a little shuffle.
the Elfland Shuffle. If this is the biggest fetch quest in the game, it is thankfully all on the inner sea, so it doesn't take that long, but it is obnoxious. And now we have the key. Okay, great. What does that mean for anything? Well, that only means something if you've bothered looking around everywhere, and Saracen's going to show you one. Before you enter the room, can you press A on the door? If the guy would get out of the way. There we go. So, this door is locked by the Mystic Key. You will find a few of these rooms littered around the area. Now, with the Mystic Key that you got for waking the Sleeping Prince, you can now go through these doors and open them. Only one of these rooms is actually essential to us right now. But we did get a Silver Hammer +4 in there, and that is not bad, apparently, so very good.
Yeah, it was a significant upgrade over the Rapier +1.
Yep. And then when you get a better sword for the fighter, you can always dump it on the White Mage and make them the White Basher.
Yeah.
White Masher, White Basher, whatever you want to call them. They're not gonna, unless you decide to go digging for that Masamune, then we're not gonna get to see a White Samurai, so.
Oh, I am gonna dig the Masa.
Are you? Nice.
Wow, the iron armor all rolled down.
It's a crap set. I would stick with the chain.
Yeah. Ooh, silver +3 knife.
Nice.
Also an upgrade over the Rapier.
Oh, yes.
Now you get to see the door glitch.
So the door glitch happens if you open the menu when you're in a door. It's in the door frame, and it duplicates a door. It doesn't do anything. It's just funny. So the one thing that we got there that was actually important, you could tell because there was a pause afterwards from the item showing up. We got the TNT. And if you were to wander around and talk to everyone before you did the whole quest, you could talk to the dwarves here at Dwarf Cave, and the dwarves would be, one of the dwarves would be like, hey, if only I had TNT, I could open a canal out to the rest of the world. Because, you know, terraforming's important. So now with the TNT in hand, you can finish up this part of the fetch quest. And we're done, and we never have to do anything this long for delivery again. Well, number of items. Arguably, the Earth Cave quest that we're going to do next is longer. But since we're here...
Silver armor +5. Ooh.
Very nice. Since we're here, we'll also loot this armory and steal a bunch more stuff. And you'll note Saracen is throwing crap away, because none of this is going to sell for very much, so there's no point in selling it. And is the wood armor, actually, or the wood helmet, actually better effectively than the iron? 8, and... Wow, yeah, look at that. There you go.
Big number good.
Big number
Bungo,
goods.
bungo.
Yeah. Fighter take hit, not go down. That's the rule.
Yep.
So, now that we're out of the inner sea, we can go explore around, but if you were to sail around and look for things, you discover that there's not much to do other than here at Melmond. Melmond looks like crap. And that's because Melmond has been attacked by an evil vampire. Ooh, longsword +4 is not bad.
I gotta drop some weapons.
Falchion gonna be better than the longsword?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
28, 22, 17. Crit's better, and the other damage is negligible, so, like, a couple points, so yeah. When in doubt, go with crit, because crit's gonna, what is it, double the damage? Triple?
I think there's some armor ignore in there, too.
Armor ignore. So it feels somewhere between double and triple, or maybe even quadruple, but it's a lot of weirdness. But, ooh, steel +4, damn. Lovely. That's practically endgame right there. But, so if you have weapons that are similar in stats, but one has a higher crit, go with the higher crit. That's the important thing. And if you're curious how to check those stats, because that's not in the vanilla game, you can go onto any item when you're in the equip screen and press select, and it will pull up their stats for you. Not going to pick up Harm 3, or is it just you didn't have the money?
I don't have the money, but
right.
I want to know what the spells are here, just in case there's one of the really good ones.
Yeah. Well, you already got Fade on the White Mage anyway, so that's not the end of the world. Which is their endgame magic, so...
I also haven't checked level 4 magic yet, because I didn't really have magic, or money then either.
I have a feeling that's going to be a recurring thing here.
Yeah, for a bit.
For a bit. So, if you wander around, you will hear from the people in town, "Oh no, the vampire has attacked us. He lives over here in the dreaded Earth Cave." So we've skipped talking to people and we've just come down to the dreaded Earth Cave.
You've also indicated that Sarda might have some sort of solution.
Solution to something that doesn't actually matter just yet. Coral +1 is not bad. Thief can use that, can't he?
Thief can use it. I think the Falchion +5 is better.
Fair enough.
Until we get to aquatics.
Yeah. I mean, so the Coral Sword gets a bonus against sea creatures. Did you turn on elemental bonuses?
Yes.
Perfect.
I think. Maybe?
I looked at the flags and you sent them to me, and then I've ignored them since. In the randomizer, we have elemental bonuses that you can turn on, which boosts the amount of elemental damage that a elemental weapon can do. The vanilla game has a negligible increase. So we've made it better so that the elemental weapons are actually good.
So I did not turn that on. Also, it turns out in the vanilla game, they just didn't work in addition to being a negligible bonus. Which is why the Excal was really not a good weapon.
Well, its crit was better in the vanilla game because the crit table was also bugged.
Yes.
Yes. So, the crit table in the vanilla game doesn't actually go off the crit stat. It goes off of where the listing was on the table. So, if your weapon number was higher, just on the row table, then it did better crit because that's what it was reading. It was broken. So the Excal is actually noticeably worse in the randomizer until you have elemental damage on. And Saracen didn't turn that on, so it's not going to be that great. So there was the vampire, and we got chicken. So Saracen left his fun item names on.
Just that one.
Just that one. So, as an explanation, when you come into Earth Cave, you fight the vampire, and then the chest behind him, the incentivized chest, which is a term you'll hear sometimes in the randomizer, will have a ruby. However, we have fun ruby names on. Feed Titan's favorite snack, I think is what it's called. It doesn't affect the game in any specific way except changing the name of what the ruby is. And here, the Titan has got a real craving for a good roast chicken. So that is what's going on. We got the ruby. Now, I want to point out something. Saracen walked his way all the way down to that dungeon, got the chicken, and then exited out. Like with Marsh Cave, once you get the item in Earth Cave, you have to exit. So in the vanilla game, that means walking all the way back through all those grody encounters that Saracen ran away from. And then the joy is that once you get it, you have to come over to this side of the world, to come over here and talk to the... Sarda, thank you. I wanted to say Saracen. I'm like, you're not in this game.
And yet I am.
And yet you are. So come over here and talk to Sarda, the old wise man who was blocked by the Titan who could not be gotten past. And he's like, oh, you want to go defeat the Earth's rot? Well, let's give you this rod. And you're like, why would I need a rod? Because you didn't decide to go any further in the dungeon, like Saracen did. But if you did, you'd find a plate there at the very end, blocking any further progression. So, Saracen, an avid golf player, gives you his golf club, and he's like, go whack at it a bit, and it'll get you through. And that's it.
Yeah, sometimes you just need the crowbar, alright?
Absolutely. Sarda's wiffle bat is all you need to get through this. I feel like we need fun rod names now. Crowbar, golf club, wiffle bat.
I feel like I know what the community would want to put there, and I don't think that we can put that on broadcast.
No inappropriate names. As much as the community would enjoy very inappropriate names, we will keep them clean. We've kept everything else clean so far. Titan's favorite snack is not inappropriate either.
Herb is the other one that I really want to have fun names for.
I will avoid discussing that because I know there are some in the community that would suggest certain things that we should not have on air.
That was the wrong spell.
That was the wrong
meant
spell.
To select harm too. It's okay. We're very healthy.
So, you actually brought up, accidentally, an important thing right here. If you are like me, and you have problems distinguishing between certain spell names because they all use the same lettering, harm and heal being one of those, 2 H's at the very start, we do have accessible spell names as a fun percent flag. Again, does not affect the randomizer itself in any way, which is why it's in fun percent. I'll get to you in a second, Saracen. But it does change the names to using variants from later in the series to make them more distinguishable and easier for those with any sort of reading disability like I have to actually navigate your menus faster and use your spells better. So Saracen got to that plate that you saw up on the vampire floor, and he whacked it with the rod, and then he got through it, and now we're on Earth 4, going even further into the dungeon, and otherwise Saracen doesn't care about this floor. It just connects to where he wants to go.
I mean, there are 8 chests there. But
there are.
I don't really care about those.
If we had randomized treasures turned on, then those 8 treasures would actually mean something. But as you've seen, we've been skipping pretty much everything for the first half of this game. Oh yeah, by the way, once we get through the Lich, we've actually gotten through like the first half of the game.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here.
Well, my point is that traditionally you play this game and it takes about 2 hours to get through this first half, and we're through it in 22 minutes because of the changes we've made. So one of the spells that Saracen has turned on, Lich had Ice too, he actually was almost effective. He cast Quake. Quake has, it's like a 50% chance of killing Lich.
Oh, it's way lower than that, but...
Maybe 25, 30, something like that.
Sometimes you just have to pay homage to the cake toss,
totally.
And that's just how it is.
It's a weakness for Lich, which means it's not a 3 in 256 chance he'll die to it, but an actual, real chance. So 25%-ish, I think you're right on that. I said the wrong number because my brain. One other thing that Lich did is he cast Sleep. Sleep is basically an ineffectual spell. It'll put your character to sleep, but they immediately wake up on their next turn. So it's not like Stun, where you're just passed out for a while. If you get put to sleep, you just basically lose a turn. It's really negligible.
Small thing on that is you wake up on the next turn if your maximum hit points are 80 or greater, I think. Really? Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a qualification. My characters always just wake up, so I never pay attention to it. Interesting. Okay, well that is valuable to know. So, we've killed the Lich. Did you realize you needed to kill the Lich? Well, apparently you need to because he was rotting the earth. And you got it. Here, go into your menu for a second, Saracen. Look at, nope, right there. Look at that. One of our back. Thank you. One of our orbs is lit. Woo! If you didn't notice that those orbs were there and that they weren't lit before, well, now we've pointed that out to you. That's actually our quest all along. We've spent half the game doing other crap so we could finally start lighting these orbs. But now we have. Congratulations, we can go save the world now. So, you're fighting these Kaizuko because they're worth money, right?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So, with that, we now travel to the next place we can go to because still, the rest of the world is blocked to us. How is that? Well, some places don't have docks that we can dock at, and other places only have rivers that currently we can't dock at. You see Saracen is had to walk around that river. He can't walk on river tiles currently. So he's pretty well blocked from doing anything in the game until he can get around river tiles. And that is why we're coming to this town. The only other place we can go, because the progression of this game is actually pretty well engineered for the first half of the game. So you come in here into this town, and when you go walk around, you can...
I'm gonna just stock up a little bit here, too.
You're fine. You're good. When you go around, you'll eventually come to a circle of sages, old men doing yoga in the park. And we will talk to them in a second, and they're going to open up the next part of the game for us. And our armor situation is pretty good, so Saracen is skipping any armor he can buy in stores. He is checking magic, but isn't buying much.
I'm looking for new Contemporary, really. And, like, Heal 3 or Tier 4.
And we'll cover, like, when we actually get into the boss fights that aren't Lich, who's just a speed bump, we'll cover what magic he's casting and why, so that you guys get a feel for it. But right now, this is progression is what we're talking about. So you talk to the sage, and the sage gave you a canoe. He's like, you know, I used to like going out and doing some kayaking, but I'm old, I'm not really into it anymore. But since you defeated the Fiend of Earth, here's my kayak. And so Saracen canoe sails further north and decides to go canoeing. And he has decided that he's going to ignore everything else that's going on and go do something other than the volcano that you were immediately pointed to with the canoe. Let me note to you, this is perfectly viable in-game. The second you have the canoe, in effect, the entire world is open to you. How is that? Well, you can come up to this ice cave, which is hinted at by one of the other sages in town. Although I'm not sure the sage actually tells you that until after you've defeated the volcano. But you can, if you know about it, you can come up to Ice Cave, or if you just happen to wander around, you can come up to Ice Cave. And Ice Cave has an item in it that's going to unlock the rest of the world for us. But you have to get through Ice Cave first, so Saracen is running from everything because he doesn't... Oh, never mind.
I'll take a giant.
You want some money and some levels?
Yeah. I'm feeling unsafe.
What's your level situation right now? Oh, level 10, come on, you'll be fine.
So... Yes, I will be fine. However...
No, I get you. Well, and
I guess...
We are at the point where we actually have to start thinking about the end game. So, like, as weird as that is to say at 27 minutes, we do actually need to start thinking about the end game. So, are you planning to loot any of the lake dungeons? Like maybe, Sky?
I will be looting at least part of Sky.
Okay. Sky has some of the best gear in it, so... I think there's a ribbon in there and some good armor.
Ribbon, both shirts, the adamant to get the X-Cal.
Okay.
You can't do this in vanilla.
I was about to say. So the thing to note is that you can't get exit or warp. Ooh, a flame sword +3. That's pretty nice. You can't get exit or warp from their respective magic shops until you've class changed. But you can't class change until you can actually fly around the world in an airship. And the item to get you an airship is here in Ice Cave. So the one place where being able to drop down a floor and then warp back up that floor, which is what warp does, it takes you to the exit you used at the previous level. The one place where it would be super useful for, you can't use it in the game. There's one other dungeon where it would also be super useful, and again, you can't use it in the game because you can't have it until you class change, and that's the dungeon that gives you class change. So it's really obnoxious how this game is set up. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vanilla logic with vanilla spells
Oh
is
my god, painful.
terrible.
Painful. So anyway, so we got the floater, and what the floater does is it summons an airship from this desert right here. And now with the airship unlocked, we can go literally anywhere. So halfway into the game, the entire rest of the world is open, and you can do it in any order you want, basically.
We're gonna stay mostly vanilla.
So you're gonna go do... Are you gonna do class change next?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the money for the bottle.
Look, vanilla bottle's expensive. Let's go do class
It's
change.
true. Let's loot out the good cardia first.
So with the airship...
I don't remember what's here vanilla.
I don't remember either, but it's money and it's treasure. With the floater in hand and the airship in our repertoire, we can now come to these islands and loot all the items that these dragons here have. Basically steal their entire hoard. Which was a lot of money, which kind of makes sense when you think of dragons.
Yep.
Yeah. Just doing that one, because that one has the most treasure chests in it. And now we're sailing our way over here, and this is the area where the Castle of Ordeals would be. Castle of Ordeals is just this place. And it's a place you can go to prove your mettle. And that's pretty much all you're told about it, and then you're supposed to come here. So you come here to prove your mettle. Saving outside, we're gonna go in. So, Saracen has warp in hand, which you shouldn't normally have at this point. So, the Temple of Ordeals is a dungeon where you have to wander through these pillars and it warps you around and you've got to navigate the maze. Traditionally, you have to just learn the maze, which helpfully in vanilla is the bottom teleporter is always the right one to take. But in this particular instance, I don't think we have teleporters turned on, do we?
We did not randomize the anything.
So, Saracen already knows the path through here. But here, take the wrong teleporter for once so we can show it off.
Okay.
Just once.
That's the right one.
So, he's been warped back a spot. If he uses warp here, he gets taken to the pillars, and he can go use the other pillar and continue his progress. The reason to know this is mostly for the randomizer, where with shuffled columns here, you may want to use warp to navigate through faster. That's it. There you go. The other dungeon where warp is useful, and you don't get it until after you've done this dungeon. Yes.
The other place that it can be useful is Waterfall, and it's just because walking out of Waterfall is kind of a pain.
It can be. I mean, any place where you have to do a fetch quest, sure. Like if you were to go into Sea Shrine, you could warp or exit out of Mermaids there, which has an item that we'll cover later. Oh, look at this. Something else has stone touch. Let's, that's gross.
Yeah, sure is. I still don't have any softs. I never picked up more than the one I needed at the time.
Well, Fighter's not going to get any experience right now. That's sad for him.
Mm-hmm.
Unless for some reason there's a soft potion in here. Gold -1 is still decent armor, and Ice Sword +3. Ice is better than Fire. They both do elemental damage of their type, but in Vanilla, the Ice Sword is slightly better than the Fire Sword. So if you have a choice between the two, you take the Ice Sword. Unless you're specifically fighting icy creatures, so the Fire Sword is better. And the last chest in here has the tail. And the tail is useful because that allows you to prove your metal. That's it. That's all it does.
Yep.
Yep.
The tail of the rat is very important to the dragons.
Yep. For some reason, you're supposed to come in here and get a body part off of a rat. There's mythological explanation, I think, related to Japanese myth for it, because it's the Japanese game. But when it's translated to English, it's just like, hey, rat tail. And you're like, thanks? Question mark? And so we go over to this dungeon, or this hole in the Cardia Islands, and we walk all the way down. With nothing, there are no encounters here in the vanilla game, so it's just a long walk for no reason. And then another walk here, back up.
So that we get to see the dragon candles.
So we get to see the dragons and the candles, and the big celebration. And you give the rat tail to the dragon here, Bahamut, and he's like, "Groovy, you guys are heroes, I guess." And he upgrades you. And so now your thief is a ninja, your fighter is a knight, your white mage is a white wizard, and your black mage is a black wizard. Woo.
Yep. The reason I say the dragon candles is that they're supposed to be the shape of a dragon head.
Are they? I don't see it.
You got the eyes here. And this is the snout.
Oh, the whole shape of the whole... I didn't realize. That is too subtle for my brain. Huh. I just thought it was a random pattern because the dragons don't know how to lay crap out.
No, they're being artistic up in here.
Wow, look at that. Little culture up here from the dragons. So now we can go buy a soft potion and bring our fighter back.
Yep, it's very important.
Very important. Are you gonna buy more than one?
Yes.
And then are you gonna do any magic shopping while you're here?
Yes.
Okay.
So I had skipped out on these shops initially because
no money.
First off, they're really far away, but second off, there was no money.
Well, Brack's nice.
I guess. It's not super important, but it's nice.
It's something that, well, you don't have nuke yet, so it's something you can use to cast against a couple of the later bosses if you wanted. And then Heal 3 is good, that's AoE magic healing. And then he also picked up Invis 2, which is AoE evasion magic. And that will come into play for the bosses later on as well.
Alright.
Alrighty then.
So now I have the money for this bottle.
Money in hand to go get the bottle. So, my question to you is, what order are you going to do the final dungeons in?
I am going to do Waterfall right now.
Okay.
Because there's a ribbon in there.
Yes, that's fair.
And then...
No, Scorch.
I mean, from there, it's kind of an open question. Yep. I could have just gotten the Oxiel and one-tap this continent, huh?
Yeah, I was wondering about that. You flew right past Gaia, so... I mean...
It's okay.
Some people in our community would be like, Saracen, why are you double-dipping the on-rack area? So...
I wasn't thinking that clearly.
That's fine.
That's all it comes down to.
So, oh, God bless. Yeah, no, avoid that. So, Waterfall is here. Waterfall is just a place that exists. Some people will hint that there's might be something useful here in the waterfall, but it's more or less a place that exists. You have to actually care about it to care about it, but the reason you come here, as we see our characters dabbing once more, is because there is actually a key item you need in here at the very end of this dungeon, which we're coming to get, and we will get in a couple. Basically, everything we're doing now is simply to unlock final progression through the game. There are 3 more elemental dungeons to light those 3 elemental orbs, one of which we could just go to right now if we wanted to. That would be Volcano. Then there's also the Sky Palace and the Sea Shrine. And we just need to get our progression open to get into these ones. This waterfall here will unlock the Sky Palace progression. Half of it.
I didn't turn on progressive XP and gold, so the XP growth that I have right now is a little lacking. Also explains the money sitch.
It does. I mean, it was good for early game. It's not bad, but you could use that extra little boost there at the end game. So there's that ribbon. And a wizard staff, which actually could come in useful later. And then the robot here gives you the cube, which isn't immediately useful, but we'll get to it eventually. And there's a defense sword, which is not a bad mid-game weapon, but also does it can be used in battle to cast brain locked
Ruse.
up. Thank you. I couldn't see the spell. Ruse, and that's basically single target, lots of evasion.
Yeah, self only.
Self only. Ooh, this is a good song. I know you can't hear it, seriously, but this is a good song. Cello version of the town song from 7th Saga. It's lovely.
I always appreciate a cello cover.
Oh, it's so good. Not that I'm going to boost for any particular artist or anything, but this particular song is... So with the bottle in hand, we're going to finally go back to Gaia over here, which we haven't been to before. But hey, you know what? There's something to do here. He uncorks the bottle, and the reason to do that is because inside the bottle was a fairy, and then we found Temper. Ew, level 7.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
More important in this town, though, are pro rings. And actually...
So the pro ring prevents instant death, and it's a piece of gear, an arm piece of gear that anyone in the party can wear. So you're gonna pick up a couple or 3 of them.
Yep.
And if you're looking for descriptions of like all the armor in the game and what everything does, because we're kind of breezing through a lot of this, we have resources on our site, wiki.finalfantasyrandomizer.com, that will go over lots of this stuff. And then, of course, if you go through the Duckling Boot Camp, which we're just running, and this will be the new introductory video for, then you will be able to like hear us talk about everything that's important and valuable and all the stuff there. So Cure 4 and Nuke are both level 8, which you hate to see, because, you know, you're not going to get a ton of charges of those, especially with our anemic experience growth. But also, those are very important spells, so we may be coming back for those.
We'll see.
May. I said May.
Yeah.
So you uncorked the bottle, you release the fairy is right here in town, and she gives you the Oxyale, and the Oxyale is required to go underwater. Where are we going to go underwater? We don't have a submarine. Well, Saracen's flying back to this continent that we probably could have done all in one shot. And we're going to go finish it. Yeah, it's fine. You're just playing like I do. It's fine. Ooh, Wiz Ogres with Ruse. Okay, thanks, game. So point of order.
What sort of stinks is this black mage does not have a lot of damage.
He doesn't have a lot of anything. He's going to be kind of useless in Tree Shrine, where his best spell is fire. So, the important thing there that I want to point out is that the Wiz Ogre cast Ruse. Ruse makes him harder to hit. Magic doesn't care about that. He immediately got hit by magic and died. That Ruse cast, entirely useless in that particular instance. But if Saracen had tried to hit him with a weapon, he might have been hard to hit and could have dodged. So we're now on Sea Shrine. Sea Shrine is a split dungeon. It has 2 sides to it. He's gone to the right side first, and he's just running through.
This Fire 3 nonsense, man. Almost makes me wish I kept the Zeus bonk.
Right? Yeah, I did see you sold it. Zeus casts Lightning 2 in battle when used as an item. But, you know, it just makes the White Mage more useful.
White Mage MVP.
White Mage carry! Things that you can only hear in the randomizer. Man, my White Mage really carried me there.
Opal bonk Opal bracelet -3.
That's it's gonna be about a gold bracelet at this point. It's not great.
Except the gold bracelet's also minus, so that's you know the thing.
Then the opal is what you're gonna be using. So the whole reason to come over here, even though he's been looting a couple other treasures, was specifically to get these 3 chests right here, the rightmost of which has the slab, another key item we need. But since you're here, you're gonna go loot some other crap, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say hi to Bubbles too.
Alright. Are you part of the Bubbles Soda Co?
I am one of the founding members, yes.
There you go. The Bubbles Soda Co, who loves to
hi Bubbles.
There you go. Turn bubbles into evaporated bubbles. So
she's carbonated.
She has been carbonated. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. The reason why the NPCs sometimes disappear is because that is a feature we have in the randomizer called NPC Guillotine. It's an effective way to get NPCs that in the vanilla game tend to be in your way constantly and get them out of your way. Any NPC that only has a single line of dialogue, as in you don't have to do anything in the game and their dialogue changes, will be removed after you've talked to them. So he talks to those mermaids, and since they only had one thing they can ever say, they were then carbonated afterwards and gone forever. Just gone.
Until you reload the screen.
Well, forever for that floor.
Yep, I ain't going back.
Nope. So as far as we're concerned, Bubbles is gone forever. It's also very useful in Earth Cave, where some bats can get in the way. Now, some of the bats in Earth Cave have been moved around so that they can't do the damage they used to. If you watched one of our past tournaments, 2017, Jay Coper got the bad end of a bat that got himself stuck in a one-tile hallway that blocked progression for like 5 minutes in a tournament. It was awful.
I mean, there's a reason we call it the Jay Coper bat.
The Jay Coper bat, who has been moved to his own room, never to fly away again. He and 3 buddies that were all in the way have been removed. But you can still talk to the other bats that show up and get them out of your way if they're in your way. Things we have smoothed to make the randomizer work better. So the other side of this dungeon has only one thing we actually really care about, and that is the Fiend of Water, who is causing the Earth's water to rot, I guess. Do we ever get an explanation for what exactly is they're doing? Poisoning the water?
He's bothering the mermaids, and that's all that really matters to these people.
I guess fair.
I would love any encounters that actually give me experience.
Right. Well, at least you're not going to have to deal with many more of these Arsahags in this particular pack. They were, once again, killed by the White Mage carry. Ooh, level 14. You really want to be a little higher in here.
Yeah. I want to take those, but I don't have the ice.
And there's one of the items that we actually care about. That is the Power Bonk. We call gloves bonks. It's just a phrasing thing that has happened in the community from way back when. But the Power Glove... Power Gauntlet. Power Glove, of course, being a Nintendo item. But the Power Gauntlet. And what that does is when used in battle, it casts Saber. Saber is a single target spell that affects only the caster himself, or herself. And it casts Saber, the spell. I'm trying to get my brain back around to it. Saber, when cast on the caster, which is the only place it can be cast, increases their damage by 16 points. I think tempers 14, Or it's like Temper's 12 and Saber's 14. It's 2 points better than Temper, I know that much. And it also very slightly increases their hit percent. Negligibly so, but it does increase it. So. But we get the Power Bonk because that's basically solo cast Temper for the, for whatever, character has it on them. And while we want Temper as well, because Temper also boosts the amount of damage that we do, more boosting is better boosting. More, oh my god, you just cannot get that Quad X to land.
It's okay. So the big win here, and I just forgot what room it was actually supposed to be in, is we now have a second ribbon.
Yes. So we have two very important items that we got from this floor. This floor specifically being the Power Bonk and the Ribbon. Ribbon is basically a self-equipped wall. It is natural. It just, you know, as I mentioned wall earlier, it protects you from instant death, except for chance 3 and 256. And it protects you from the amount of damage you take from elemental spells. Here, the Ribbon is basically a self-cast wall immediately put upon you that you've equipped. So it's always on and you don't ever have to worry about it. It's just there. Now, wall can still be removed. If something casts X-Fur on you and it lands, the protection of the wall, or in this case the Ribbon, is removed. But that's a chance thing, and it doesn't have a high chance of happening. And here is the Fiend of Water, the Kraken. And Kraken, well, of course. This is a common occurrence. Saracen has to think now. Yeah, there comes that defense sword. Kraken decided to kill the White Mage because what does Kraken do? Kraken kills the White Mage. And you're casting Brack, and of course it's ineffective. Brack has a 25% chance of landing, but when you need it, Brack never lands.
It's true.
Yep. We all use it in tournaments because it's that 25% chance is hard to argue with on make a protracted battle into a short one. But of course, when you need it, it never happens. I've had it's 25% chance, and I've had 16 casts of Brack go by, and we're getting there. We're getting there. And you can see now that Kraken has killed the White Mage, he's just casting ink and basically toying with his food. Finally, broken.
There it went.
Yep, broken into pieces. What technically Brack is supposed to see is break. And now with that having been taken care of, we have to go pick the White Mage up, and then we'll save outside of town and move on with our life. But that's 2 fiends down at the effectively 50-minute mark. We are cruising. Oh look, life 2
at level 7.
That's useful.
Actually, I have 7 houses. It's probably enough.
Probably enough, yeah, I would think. You don't have that many more places you're going.
Yeah.
Save your money at this point because you need it.
Just for spells.
Alrighty, now we're back up in the air with 2 dungeons down, 2 to go. And Saracen is sailing south. Flying south, however you want to put it. We are headed over to Melmond because you remember that slab we got at the other place? Well, that slab, which is in later games called the Rosetta Stone, or just Rosetta, can be brought here to Dr. Un, who is a master of languages hanging out in a graveyard for some reason. He'll talk to you about language if you don't have the slab beforehand. Be like, man, if only I could interpret this, I could figure out the ancient language of the Lufenian. Well, we got him a slab, and he figured out the ancient language of the Lufenian in 5 seconds. He's amazing. Those audio tapes really work. I'm just saying. So
I think the story on that, why he's in the graveyard, is it's the best place to study dead languages.
Cha. I mean, I'm sure that's actually the reason, but it's also a really good pun. So, now with the slab language in hand, you can come over here. If you were to come to this area beforehand and walk down to the town that's at the south of this peninsula, you'd go in and you talk to people and they'd all be like, Lu-pa? Which I guess is the, do you speak Lithenian? And that's literally the only thing they will say until you actually are able to talk to them. but you took books on tape to learn languages. Dr. Oon's fantastic 5-second language lessons. And now with that having been taken care of, you can come down here and actually talk to these people. And the only one we actually care about is the one that actually has an item we need. So skip everyone else. They don't say anything useful to us anymore. And we get the chime, which allows us to enter into the Mirage Tower. Why do we care about that? That's because the Mirage Tower is the first half of the 4th elemental dungeon of the game, which is going to be the 3rd for us. The Sky Palace. And you need 2 items to get into the Sky Palace. You need the chime to get into this first part. And then if you remember that robot we talked to, the robot has the cube, and there is a teleporter that can only be activated in Sky Palace via the cube. You just kind of have to know this stuff sometimes. There are people in the game that tell you it, but if you just know it, then you don't have to talk to those people. And who wants to talk? Ew.
People are scary, man.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing any talking. So if you, speaking of community memes, since we talked about Power Bonk just a little bit ago, if you are talking to people, you will sometimes hear, like, on commentary or from people in the Discord community for the randomizer, that we call the dinosaurs steak. Why? Because they are full of meat and experience. Dinosaur plus the Tyro plus Wyvern is... Oh, hey, there's a Vorpal. We'll talk about that in a second. Tyro plus Wyvern is steak and wings. That's a meme. And then there is a blue version of it called of the steak, the T-Rex, and we of course call that the blue steak because blue rare steak. One thing we got here on this floor was the Vorpal. The Vorpal is a very high crit weapon. It's very nice to have. I think we're almost immediately going to find some replacements for it, but
not really.
Isn't the katana in here?
You're asking me questions about loot in this dungeon, and I only really know 3 pieces of loot.
Just go loot the dungeon. Just go loot the dungeon. It's fine.
Okay.
The katana is in here. We can spend a couple minutes looting some dungeon. Besides, you need the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably exit after this floor to use a house.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. So there are 3 floors of Mirage, 2 of which have treasure chests, and we're actually going through and doing all of that right now. Getting some money. Thor Hammer, which also casts Lightning 2 in battle, and is equipable by the White Mage if you want the White Mage to do something. Which we do.
I mean, the White Mage is doing plenty, but...
Oh yeah, I know. They are our damage carry right now, which is hilarious. And a Sun Sword, which is a fantastic weapon and effective against the undead. Sun Sword is a huge upgrade over the, huge, improved upgrade over the Ice Sword. Let's just put it that way. It's still not really endgame, but it's decent. But when, especially when it has a, what was it, a +4 or a +5 on it, that's pretty good. And then we also found the Dragon Armor. Unfortunately, it's a -2, but it's still a very big upgrade over what we had. Dragon Armor protects you against the 3 elements. Fire, Ice, and Lightning. The Aegis Shield that he has there, that I don't think he's put on yet, it protects against poison damage. And with the Pro Ring, that protects against death, you have protection against everything except for time and earth. And those 2... Huh?
Status as well.
Status, okay. We still effectively, we call it a poor man's ribbon, because you have most of the protections you need, although some instant death spells are going to tuck in. You still probably want to cast Wall at some point if you're going to go that route. But if you have a Dragon Armor, an Aegis Shield, and a Pro Ring on a fighter, a knight, then you can probably move the ribbon off of them onto someone else. Maybe. Unless you really don't want to risk it, and most of the time we'd end up just not risking it, I will say that.
Well, one of the nice things about vanilla is you can just look up on the internet where the ribbons are.
Yep.
Which is how I know where the ribbons are.
Yep. But I'm giving an explanation for if you, like, say you're in the randomizer and you only have one ribbon, but you have these other pieces of knight gear and you want to protect both the knight and the white wizard. I can see plenty of situations where you're sitting there going, okay, we're going to risk it with the poor man's ribbon on the fighter, and then have the white mage wear the ribbon, and then one of the first things the white mage does is cast wall in a boss fight. Like, I could see it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're starting to get into deep strategy. I'm just giving basic explanations. So, and because we're looting everything and getting experience, we're gonna go check these ones. The Sky one, we're on Sky Palace now. We got past the teleporter with the cube. We're now on Sky Palace, not in Mirage Tower. We warped up to the sky, the castle in the sky, and floor 1 and floor 2 have plenty of treasure, but they're also like super obnoxious to explore. If you wanted to just skip past most of this and go up to Sky 3, I think we probably could.
I'm doing Sky 2 because there's 4 chests I want specifically.
Go for it.
I just have to remember which room it was referencing for the ribbon, because there's one ribbon on the right side on this floor. That's not a ribbon.
That is absolutely not a ribbon.
I know it's not the bottom right, but that's the other 2 chests that I want.
There's a ribbon.
There's the ribbon.
And we're not putting a ribbon on the thief. Thief is just going to be a thief.
It's okay.
Yeah.
He's doing his best.
He's doing the most important thing, which is preventing you from being surprise attacked. And bear in mind, as long as the thief is at the front of your party, he will help prevent those surprise attacks. He doesn't have to be alive to do that. And there's the white shirt and the black shirt. So white shirt and black shirt both rolled up, which is lovely on their own. By default, these shirts have the armor protection level of a gold bracelet. Now, they rolled up and the gold bracelet rolled down, so they're fantastic to have. White shirt obviously can only go on the white mage. Black shirt obviously can only go on the black mage. And the white shirt gives a elemental protection. I'm trying to remember what it is.
That is death and fire.
Death and fire. And
then
black
time
shirt
and ice for the black shirt.
I do remember the black one. I just never remember the white one. Yeah, time and ice for the black shirt. Not that it matters because they both have ribbons on, so whatever. But still. And there's our adamant. And the adamant is a key item you turn in later for a sword. We'll get to that. You'd know where to turn it in if we talked to anyone, but we weren't talking to anyone, so.
Talking to people.
Gross. It is actually a fetch quest started at like near the beginning of the game. The second you can go sailing around on the inner sea, you could technically activate the fetch quest, even though it's not going to show up because there's no fetch quest tracking window here. But if you were just to write crap down and be like, put a check mark next to this fetch quest, you could have started it in the first like 20 minutes of the game. Oh look, a soft potion. Those are useful. And now we're going to the 4 chests that are called Cece's Gambit. Crab Cakes, Cece, will sometimes go to these 4 just for a quick loot while she's exploring this dungeon. Crab Cakes is one of our past spring tournament winners and a very good player of this game.
Finally getting to like sort of healthy levels too.
Isn't that nice? Oh look, more pro rings and we no longer need them. Thank you, game.
It's actually, I should be putting one of the pro rings onto the white mage. Oh wow, I forgot to grab it. The pro ring vanilla has more absorb than the glove plus 5 does.
Yeah. Pro ring is 8 points vanilla. There's one of our katanas. Oh, -2. Still better than the Vorpal, I think, but not as much as it could have been.
It's questionable.
It's questionable. Since the Vorpal rolled vanilla stats, and the Vorpal is effectively called the Kana's called like a Vorpal and a half, because its stats are basically equivalent to the Vorpal, just boosted on every thing. So the Vorpal rolling down 2 points, or the Katana rolling down 2 points against the Vorpal, the vanilla Vorpal, is probably going to be okay. It's probably still going to be slightly better, but not a huge amount. Like, if we're really being picky, like, does it save me any frames to switch from the Vorpal to the Katana? And the answer is probably no. The amount of time you waste switching from one to the other is negligible in comparison to how much you're going to get a boost of it when the stats are comparable like this. So, and you're leaving the thief dead?
I don't have any charges of life 2 yet.
Oh, well. Go kill some things and the fighter will get some levels. It'll be lovely for him. It'll be great. As he swings his sun sword and can't kill anything. I was really hoping for you.
He's doing his best, all right?
I was hoping the black mage was going to come in and get those 13 points of damage and get the kill. Like, go black mage!
I may spend some time on the Agama before...
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will discuss that when we get to it. There is an encounter that is decent for grinding. There's actually a couple of them. When we were in Ice Cave, there was an eye that we found on a tile. We could have...
We didn't find that because I used the warp trick.
We could have found on the tile.
Yes.
If you went a different way through the dungeon and didn't do the warp trick. So, but that eye is good for grinding, but there's also an encounter in Volcano that's good for grinding with the setup it has. So we may do that one instead. Hey, Falconic, welcome to chat. Throwing up the Vorpal sword. Falconic being a big fan of the Vorpal. Very high crit, very nice weapon. I actually like the Vorpal. I'll make jokes about it because it's funny, but the Vorpal's a decent weapon. So we're fighting Tiamat, the Fiend of Air, and we're not nearly as worried about them, generally, as we are Kraken. Kraken hits very hard. Tia can hit hard, but in the first encounter, not nearly as much. And they're also susceptible to poison damage, which is Brack. So, both the ribbons, you can see Tiamat's basic spells aren't doing all that much, and the fighter's doing 500 damage. And we could try bracking, but Brack, of course, doesn't hit. Falconic pointing out that the katana is also a great weapon. Just wish the knight could swing it. Can with legendary swords, which the red mage had in this, but we don't have a red mage, and we don't care. So... But the legendary sword blurs would let you equip the katana if the fighter were to have it. And we're going for some more stake because we're here. Fighter's starting to do some pretty decent damage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, I didn't do any tracking at all. I said this was going to happen, didn't I?
You did.
I did. So, we got the Earth Cave. Let's go over progression while Saracen's flying. So, we got the bridge from the king. Then we went to the pirates and we got the ship, which is here. And then we did a whole fetch quest around there. Oh, we got the we turned in the adamant to this this dwarf here for the Excal, which we're getting, and it looks like it rolled up by one, so that's nice. Then we did a whole fetch quest around here to get the crown, for the crystal, for the herb, for the key. Oh, and we saved the princess and she gave us the loot. Key got us the TNT. TNT opened up the canal. We then went and explored around for a bit, and we got the ruby, which then got us the rod from Sarda, and that allowed us to light that earth orb that I have lit. We then sailed around some more, and we went to Ice Cave, and we got the not the slab. We got the floater, and we got the canoe to get to Ice Cave, and then we turned in the floater to get the airship. Woo! And then we got the tail so we could class change. We bought the bottle, and bottle led us to the Oxyale. We also went and talked to a robot and got the cube, and then we turned in a slab and translated it so we can get the chime. And then while we were in Sky Cave, we got the adamant, and now we're here at Volcano so we can light the last of our orbs and finish the game. That is the tracking I should have done all along. It's now been done.
Now, according to the NPCs in this game,
yes,
you're supposed to come to Volcano before you go to Ice.
Yes.
But
Screw
I
that.
don't think there's a single run that does that.
Not anymore. I think if you don't know any better, and you don't, and like the sages, I think one of the sages has dialogue that changes once you've defeated Volcano that tells you to go to the floater here and Ice Cave. But, I mean, there's nothing preventing you from doing all of this out of order, so most of us just don't pay attention to actual progression. And now here is the other decent grindable tile. This is the Agama. The Agama has 2 tiles here right next to each other. And the reason to note that is tiles that summon a monster do not increase your encounter progression, the encounter table. So you can sit here and just take Agamas all day and you won't get anything else but these Agamas. Oh, hey, they killed your Black Mage. That was actually useful.
Sure was.
Thank you for that. So, the reason why we say it's useful that the Black Mage died is experience in the game is divided among all living party members. So, we have 2 party members that are dead. That means the experience from an Agama is now effectively doubled for the 2 that are living, because the other 2 are dead. So you saw we were getting 800 experience, we're now getting 1,300. It's still not great, but it's something.
That's what I get for not turning on progressive experience bonus.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We don't want it to be too easy, quote unquote. Fiver's doing good damage. That's nice to see. So what are you going to?
Probably 24.
24 nets us what?
So the main thing that you get for 24 is when you finally get your Masmune, you have a 5th hit when you're swinging it.
So
the other thing that's worthwhile is just having the hit points.
Yes. No, I agree with that. I just want your explanation. So 24 is going to net a couple things, which he touched upon. 1, survivability. The health on the fighter is going to be lovely to have. And mostly we just care at this point about the Knight and the White Mage, so having them alive is useful. And the other thing that it nets us is, as he noted, with the Masamune, or Masamune, as he pronounced it, it nets us an extra hit. So the hit percentage for the fighter, and the ninja, and the other characters technically, is shown in a certain weird way in this game that's different from later games. You can see the fighter is doing 4 hits. That's effectively 4 times the base damage that he would do from a single weapon swing. Instead of like the game having the characters move faster, the better that their hit and everything works. Like you would see in later games where they have the ATB bar, and the faster they are, the faster that fills, so they get more turns in comparison to other characters. Here, the game doesn't understand how to do that. The game only knows that each character gets to go once. So their increased attack speed and their increased attack hit percentage means that instead of taking more turns in comparison to other characters, they just do more hits per turn. It's weird, but that's how this game works. So with the Masamune at level 24, you get, is it 6 hits?
5.
5.
I'm actually going to go a little higher because the White Mage is close, but not quite over 400 hit points, which is the nuke threshold.
Yeah. And that's the survivability we were talking about. Nuke is a damage spell, that endgame damage spell, that the bosses of the final dungeon can use against you, which is just fantastic. It's great when we have it, it sucks when they have it. Max roll damage on a nuke is 400 points. So you want any character you want to be able to survive a round of combat, you want them to have 400 or more. Well, more than 400 really, but yeah. Because if the nuke max rolls, you don't want them to die.
$373 on that White Mage.
Getting there. And you'll see we'll talk about breakpoints a lot in like the Duckling boot camp, and when we have streams going on for tournament races and so forth. You'll hear it a lot on specific weapons, and also just the black belt in general, because the black belt unequipped uses their fists, and their fists are the most powerful weapon in the game when they start getting their levels. And the break point, quote unquote, for a weapon is what we'll discuss. For the black belt, that's what was it 24 and then no, it's 24, 32, 42?
21, 32, 42.
21, 32, 42, thank you. You can see how often I play a black belt. That's never, if I can get away with it. So yeah, and that basically means that they go from 4 hits to 6 hits to 8 hits. And when you're talking about something that can punch for like 800 damage at 8 hits and then suddenly is doing like 1200 at 10, that's a good break point, but you have to grind up for them to do that. By the way, you'll be grinding Agamas a lot when you do that kind of thing.
Yep. Agama is honestly a lot of the time my preferred tile over the eye because of the no off-step encounters.
Yep. And if you go back and watch like 2017 and 2018 tournaments where the black belt was the meta, as we put it, you'll see that basically when players come down to Volcano and do their Agama grind, it was a very key factor. Now we've rebalanced, like the randomizer has changed a lot, and black belts aren't always in tournaments, and we shuffle tiles so that you'd always get the Agama here. So the Agama grind isn't the meta anymore. But when you're playing with vanilla tiles in vanilla locations and you have a black belt, the Agama grind is still key.
I see that we did get one Smugama in chat, which is always nice to see.
You missed the whole game, Ailmarkin. He's commenting Agama grind at 115. Saracen, you were going to say something?
The main thing that you missed is just it's a vanilla game, and I want to make sure that I have the hit points to deal with nukes that I know are going to happen.
Yep. We know it's going to be this case. We want the white mage to have over 400 health. Which, with a white shirt plus 4 and the other armor they have on, it's unlikely, but maybe they even survive a Kraken punch.
Vanilla scaling, I actually think that the white mage can.
Cool.
I mean... Oh, that was the wrong screen. I have 52 absorb.
Hey,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And yeah, the bosses we have are it's vanilla bosses because we're playing mostly vanilla. Not vanilla spells, but we are playing vanilla bosses, and that means that their stats are quote unquote clamped at 100 to 100. So yeah.
And their scripts are also untouched, so that means that Lich 2 will nuke on the first turn if he gets a first turn.
If he gets a first turn. He has a speed bump, and you have an X-Cal with a fighter at a decent level, actually, so he may not if everything rolls right. Like, if you get that fast off before the fighter goes and the fighter goes before Lich goes, he could, in theory, die first turn.
It's true. And that assumes that, everybody goes before the Lich.
So since we have a moment, we're just doing Agama effects right now. That's our meme for when you're just talking an Agama grind and you talk about the Agamas. Let's talk about some of the spells that we care about for the end game. And don't forget, Saracen, you actually need to go back and buy some of those spells. Yeah. Life 2 is a full heal on top of granting a character life. Fast, which we picked up early in the game, doubles a character's hit percent when cast upon them. Now, there is a counter to that, which is slow, but that you just cast fast again. Now, if a character doesn't have fast cast on them and they get slow cast upon them, they get dropped to just one hit, no matter how many they should have. So you want fast in your repertoire. Temper increases the amount of damage that you do, and you can, I think, there is an upper cap to it, but you just cast
It's very hard to reach.
It's very hard to reach. Just keep casting Temper. Invis and Ruse increase your evade. Invis is single target. Invis 2 is party wide, and Ruse is caster only. Ruse is effectively double the amount of evade cast by an Invis or an Invis 2, and the cap is 6 Invises, or thereby 3 Ruses, or some combination therein. When you hit the max, you're basically max evade, and only it's nothing can get through unless the boss is very, very lucky and somehow manages to get the right crit on you. So, other spells we care about, we've already discussed Wall, which is protection from instant death and some elemental damage. Nuke is top tier black mage magic. White is top tier white mage magic, and that's damage spells. Cure 4 is a full character heal and can be used in combat. Life in vanilla cannot be used in combat, and we are playing with vanilla life in this particular instance. There is a randomizer feature to let you cast life in battle. We do not have that on.
Didn't even need the fast.
There you go.
Oh, baby.
Oh, you're just cruising. Any other spells we care about?
I'm gonna be honest. I sort of zoned
You're
out
fine.
in all of that.
I can't remember any other important spells, so there probably isn't one. If you cast something we haven't discussed, we'll discuss it at that point. And you can see the benefit of the Agama grind is they're kind of like mini dragons. They're worth a lot of experience, so he bought, or a lot of money. So he bought Cure 3, which is a mid-tier healing spell, very nice. He bought Lightning 3 just to give the white or the black mage something else to do. We're now sailing southwards towards level 7, level 8 magic.
I do have a couple of charges for this.
For level 7? So,
Yep.
we have a couple tempers. It's a good thing we got that powered bonk that's going to cast Saber, which, as I mentioned, is effectively temper. You're also buying life, just so we have a few more charges of that. And the white
I
mage...
don't think that made any sense because I think Life 2 is the same level.
Go check. Let's find out. It is!
It
Look
was.
at that. That was pointless. Good job.
Hooray.
It's fine. You weren't doing anything else with that level anyway. And you are buying... You actually have a charge of nuke? You do. Look at that. Nice.
Because I had warp.
Oh, right! So let's discuss a couple things here. One, life is ineffective because you have life 2. And what life does is bring a character back up with only 1 HP. But it shares a level with life 2 in this shuffled magic. So why cast that when you can get a full heal with life 2? The other thing that was pointed out was Nuke was at level 8. Normally the Black Mage at this level would not have level 8 charges, but Black Mage started with Warp. When you start with magic as a Blursing, which we have Blursings on, when you start with magic as a Blursing, you get that spell set at level 8, and you get 2 shots of it. So Saracen gamed the system. Since he had Warp at level 8 with 2 charges, he now has Nuke at level 8 with 2 charges, because Nuke landed at level 8 and he bought it.
Now I just have to avoid the warp boss.
Yep. So the one thing we will talk about when you're buying spells is don't put your exiting spells, exit and warp, as the front spell at a level, because you will accidentally at some point menu to it and cast it and then screw yourself over in a dungeon. However, you can't do anything about that when the game just automatically puts warp at the first slot, so it's just something to think about. Because they class changed, the ninja now has magic from levels 1 through 4, and he basically can learn anything that a black mage can learn at levels 1 through 4. The fighter also gets magic because he's class changed to a knight, and he can get a selection of spells from levels 1 through 3. A couple of spell slots at level 1, all the spell slots at level 2, and a couple spell slots at level 3. So Saracen, as you can see, has picked up some healing magic for the fighter just so he has it. And we bought one other spell, which is Lock. You were gonna say something?
I don't think Lock is gonna actually do anything for me here, but...
So, Lock is important in the randomizer when you can have bosses that have boosted evade. Lock is in effect an anti-invis. It lowers a monster's evade, whereas invis would increase theirs, or when cast on you, yours. So, Lock is important when we have bosses that can have, like, capped evade. But because we're playing with vanilla bosses who don't tend to have that high of an evade, Lock is less useful. But we bought it anyway, just in case. And we're going to continue killing monsters because we can. And now we're into the final dungeon. So you will note that the final dungeon is the first dungeon. There was an orb behind Garland that you can look at, and it says it glitters with dark light or some crap like that. But it doesn't do anything else. However, once you light the 4 orbs by killing the 4 fiends, which we did in fairly short order, we can now go talk to that black orb, and the black orb disappears. And when you walk through that spot where the black orb was, it warps you 2,000 years into the past, and voila, you're now in the final dungeon of the game. And then there was a slab right there that you will notice that Saracen went into his item menu and played the loot. Remember that loot we got all the way back at the beginning of the game from that princess? Yeah, it's finally useful.
The loot is the ultimate troll item in the vanilla game because without auto sort, it was always the first item in your inventory.
Yeah,
and
so
it was completely useless until you get here.
Is there even explanation in the game that you're supposed to play the loot?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think you're just supposed to figure it out. You're like, I'm blocked, and there's no other items to get. What am I supposed to do? And it's, you play the loot, and voila, it opens. Oh, we killed the fire fiend. Look, our item tracker is done.
Hooray.
Hooray!
All right, now to see how rude Lich 2 will be to me.
So I've lowered the music down because we have lyrics going on this song, and I can't control this because it's the Rainwave radio station, so we're just not going to have music for this portion. So Lich dies. Hey, look, Lich is dead.
Hooray!
Hooray! Lich
I
is
almost got him with just the X-Cal.
You did. It was a near thing. Lich is a speed bump. He doesn't have a lot of health, and he just kind of dies. But in the vanilla game, he can cast Nuke, which we don't want to see. So thankfully, we didn't have to see it. So, bye, Lich. Excuse me. In the vanilla game, there are 4 nukes and 3 nuclears that come into the pool. Lich has 1. Does Chaos have a nuke?
Believe so.
And then there's like a couple of there's the nuclears I know come from Warmech, who we didn't see. Warmech is a secret boss that you just kind of get as an encounter on the final floor of the Sky Palace, but we didn't see him, so we didn't have to discuss him. And all of those spells are mixed up and put into the pool when you randomize the boss spells. However, we don't have randomized boss spells, so we're not going to see most of the nuclears and most of the nukes. So these bosses are actually, in some ways, going to be kinder than you might expect for a vanilla playthrough.
Sort of.
Yes, sort of. I agree. So we've got Kraken, and we're just casting Fade, and we're casting fast to get the fighter boosted. And we're swinging with that X-Cal, and it does 473 damage. That's nice. 4 hits. Ninja takes a punch. Ninja does his job, sits up front, and takes a punch. That's what we care about. And now Kraken is probably within range of dying soon. So you can see one of the things that Saracen queued up was the Quad X. It didn't come into play here, but it was queued up just in case. And then the fighter killed him. And now we heal. And the only one that took damage was the Ninja. Ninja did his job.
It was a very important job.
It was a very important job.
Oh, I made a mistake.
What did you do?
I forgot to go get the masa.
Oh, well, you can go do
I'm gonna have to do this fight again.
So this is actually important to note, and it's hilarious. The Maza is hidden on this floor of the dungeon. The Mazamoon is the endgame sword you probably want. In part because while the X-Cal is great and does elemental damage against anything with a weakness, which is effectively everything in the game, Chaos doesn't have any weaknesses. So you kind of want the Maza just so you can do good damage. I mean, you could theoretically, Saracen, go Katana Vorpal if you wanted.
I could.
Are you going to go back for the Maza?
I am.
Okay. So this points out the other thing that's worth noting. The bosses here aren't like one-and-done bosses. Technically, they're encounter tiles. So if you wanted, you could fight a boss over and over again. Or in this particular instance, since Saracen forgot to grab the Mazamoon, he's going to go fight the boss a couple times. Because he's going to walk back to go get the treasure chest.
I said before we started I was going to get the masa, so I'm getting the masa.
It's fair.
We joke about this chest because it's the most out-of-the-way chest you can possibly go for.
Rock calls, those are decent experience.
Yeah, not that I'm really looking for experience right now, but I like rock calls, alright?
It's fine.
It's all...
There are certain fights that I will always fight. It's fine. Fighter doing work. Oh, I can turn the music back up. There we go.
Slow landed on the fighter through the ribbon. So we got one of our 3 and 256s
there. There it goes. Well, at least it was a slow and not an instant death, so that gets to show you that. Maza +4. Ooh, okay. Well, thank you for rolling up, Maza. For a second, I was hoping for White Samurai.
Nah.
Worms, by the way, are a fantastic experience, but again, we don't care about that now. Even Falconic, lover of the Vorpal, is like, okay, that's pretty good, I guess. That Mazda rolled up enough to be worth it.
To the stratosphere.
Indeed. I feel like this level layout would be better if, like, Tiamat was on the next side past this, so you could, like, and there was a little hull connector, so you could go down to the Mazda and then come back up and, like, only have to fight Tia once, you know?
Well, I mean, you don't have to fight Tia before getting the Mazda.
Well, no, I mean, like, in case you did it like this, like, if there, like, because the floor is set up in such a way that with, like, one more tiny hallway, you could explore the whole thing, like, in a loop if you wanted, is what I'm, like, trying to say. And we got that Quad X coming out again because we think the Tia's going to be close to death. Doesn't matter.
That's okay.
Doesn't matter. 900 damage-ish, and that's good enough. Yeah, it's like one of those little floor edits. I'd suggest to the devs at some point. Let's remake this floor just a little. Not to really ruin the flow that people know, but anyway, so here we are at the final boss. And did you notice it was Garland? He said as much. Hey, look at me, I'm Garland. I'm here 2,000 years in the past, and I'm going to show you guys that I will win this time. And he's not going to, but so we get Wall up on the ninja, and then we get Fast up on the fighter. Fighter casts Power Bonk. Crack comes out, but because Wall came out already, and it's an instant death spell, that didn't do anything. No one got 3 and 256, thank God. We're not even bothering with
the wrong way.
Huh?
Menuing the wrong way to that temper.
That's funny. Fighter already doing 600 damage, and he only has a little bit of boosting. Ice 3 comes out. Ice 3 is ship damage. We're not even really worried about evading, because Chaos is only going to punch for so much when he's at vanilla stats. Really, well, it was a Black Mage. Oh well. I would care about that temper if we weren't already doing most of Chaos's health in a single hit, you know? He only has like 300 health points left.
If that.
If that. Chaos by default has 2,000 experience, or 2,000 HP. White Mage killed it with a 65 hit arm 2. Well done!
I was hoping.
And there we go. So, in just under an hour and a half, even with explanations and some goofing off and some other stuff, we finished the game. A vanilla run is, God, was it 4 party members? Is vanilla runs over 2 hours, I think, at this point, and that's if you speed run it. Casually, it's closer to 4 hours. So you can see what the randomizer helps to speed up with faster boat, which we didn't even talk about, faster transitions, faster encounters. We lowered the encounter rate, we remixed the spells, we put some boosts on other things. 130 is just like a randomizer default at this point to expect. So... And with that, we are actually, like, effectively done. So, any final thoughts, Saracen?
So the joke has always been that for its flag set, the vanilla logic is the worst seed.
Yes.
And it is 100% the case.
It is the case.
Ultimately, the main goal here was to just show off where the items are, where to go, you know, what the routing normally is. You know, excluding the fact that I went for airship right away because that's what you really ought to have done really in the first place.
Yeah. Volcano can be done last in the vanilla game, that's fine. So, Burt Reynolds in chat, what are the flags for this? This would be a world record if it's actual vanilla-ish. It's not vanilla-ish. We remixed some things. Blur Stings are on, Blur's weapons were on, and magic was remixed. So we wanted to show vanilla progression, but it wasn't true vanilla-ish.
And the XP scaling was higher, too.
Yeah, that's why we called it vanilla-ish-ish.
Yeah,
which I can put the loading screen back up now. There we go. Yeah. Vanilla-ish-ish. So primarily progression was all we cared about, showing you where you're supposed to go, what items to turn in, what the explanation for the plot is, so you kind of understand if you're new to the game what to do. And yeah, you can go to, anytime after you get the canoe, you can go to ordeals to get the tail. Anytime after you get the canoe, you can go to Ice Cave to get the floater. Anytime after you get the canoe, which you get as soon as you've defeated the Earth Fiend and go talk to the sages, you can go do anything else in the world and basically ignore Volcano. So, like, we were just talking about, like, when I play vanilla now, through the randomizer, I'll get the floater, I'll get class change, and then I'll probably go off and do, like, Sea Shrine and Air Palace before I come back and do Volcano, because Volcano is just faster if you don't have to do anything in there. You just run across the lava tiles, which we didn't even talk about. When you're on a lava tile, you don't get any encounters. So you can just breeze through that dungeon and then just escape. So why do that any earlier than you have to, right?
Exactly.
So, anyway, if there's any questions in chat, we'll answer them. But otherwise, I think we're pretty much done with this at this point.
Yeah, I think the run speaks for itself. Yeah.
Yep.
There was even a double Tia 2 because, Masa is very important.
Masa is very important. We would have been done 2 to 3 minutes sooner had we not had to double Tia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It was a Masa plus 4. Like,
right?
Am I going to leave that sitting 2,000 years in the past?
You're not. No, you're not. Okay, so I'm going to make sure we preserve this flag set just because we preserve every flag set. That's just how it is. So in case anyone wants to come back through and kind of play a seed of this, not this particular seed, but a seed of this, you could. Just to feel vanilla without having to play, like, everything vanilla. And then otherwise, since it seems like chat is cool with us at this point, just wrapping things up, we're going to wrap things up. From all of us here in the Final Fantasy Randomizer community, I want to thank you guys for watching. This will be put up on our Duckling page so that people who come in new and want to see the game can see it. And we appreciate your chats and your comments and everything else. If you are new and you just caught a tail into this and you want to see more of Final Fantasy Randomizer, go to FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. There you can find the randomizer as well as links to the Discord and the development Discord and all the resources you need, including a link to the wiki, which is at wiki.FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. Myself, Darkmoon in the booth, and Saracen, thank you for watching. Saracen, anything else from you?
No, that's it for me.
Cool. Then we are going to let this channel go. You all have yourself a great afternoon.